Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry.
Wow.
New year, I totally fell asleep.
I was like, I don't know what to do. No.
Well, we haven't listened to that in a couple of days, and I was actually listening to the words.
Got it. Well, it's appropriate. Happy New Year, Bob. We've already done a New Year's one, so that's not necessarily. But it is the first work day of the new year. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. So for everyone, this is today's Antidote. I'm Tom Brush. That's my partner, Bob Graham. And, we've been doing the show all last year, almost all of last year and this year, to try to help people identify that one thing that's going to help them move forward, take their next step, whether that's they use it today, they apply it tomorrow. Maybe they don't apply it for 6 months or 2 years down the road. But I think it helps people think about the next thing. And it's appropriate, one, that you were a little you weren't ready for that. Two, that we're late, because that was one of our new things, that we weren't going to be late. And three, that our topic today became uncertainty. And I think it's interesting, despite all the, whether you set goals or not last year, whether you were all fired up because it's 2021, not 2020 anymore, like the world's going to change. And yet I still, at least for me, woke up this morning and over the weekend was like, I'm not sure I know what the next step is. And I almost wonder if that's because we set ourselves up for that. We take all this time to be like, either to celebrate the end of the year, to push hard to the end of the year, or to really sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to plan out the year. And now the day has come, the first work day of the year. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, like what's next?
I feel that. It's funny, when I got up early this morning because I'm trying a new little routine that has more exercise, some meditation, some reading, some journaling, trying to get an hour of hardcore work in. So I completely altered my entire process this morning, and I completely feel unsettled in every way. I normally have a routine. Now I have a new routine, and it may be a great routine, but the certainty that I had before, that at 7:05 I was making my oatmeal, and at 7:20 I was sitting to eat my oatmeal and reading the paper online, those things are gone. And I think that we get anchored by the certainty that we have. I think for a lot of us, going to an office 10 or 11 months ago provided some certainty. Like, yeah, okay, I know the drive, I know the stoplight, I know the buildings, and I have that mental break between work and home. And suddenly here we are 10 months later, and who knows? There's no telling what's going to happen today, tomorrow, or the next day. The funny thing to me is, as I think it through, we've had this uncertainty all our lives, every single day. There's no certainty. There's no certainty that the route I took to my office was not going to be, a sinkhole wouldn't show up. I didn't know that, or that they just closed the road. Who knows? But I think we strive for some certainty in what we're doing, because if we have certainty, then we can point to it and say, okay, this feels okay. And I think that's one of the challenges we have as leaders, entrepreneurs, and owners, is we strive for certainty, but know full well it doesn't exist. I don't know where my business is going in the next year. I don't know where your business is going next year. And Tom, we certainly have learned in the last 10 months, we have no clue where you and I are going with this from week to week, month to month, and even sometimes day to day, because we were pretty certain about what we were going to do at 7:45 this morning. And at 8 o'clock or 5 of, we had a change of mind.
Right. Well, what's interesting is I think that we think there should be certainty, or we believe that it's out there. And like you said, I'm not sure it is. I think we try to create it. I think routines, like you talked about, try to provide some of that. Okay, I'm more comfortable because I know I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that. And I had that conversation with someone about 2 weeks ago who was really struggling with work from home. Now they've been working from home for 10 months, but they're really realizing it that like, yeah, this is not, like, something is missing and I'm not sure. And so we talked about like, okay, well, yes, things are different, but how do you incorporate some of that difference to what you're struggling with? And I suggested to them, well, why don't you commute to work? I said, even if you felt like you needed 20 minutes, go out in your car, turn on the music, and just listen. Or walk around the block and then walk in, and they, like you, worked on a porch. I said, walk in the side door. Don't go through your house create that. I need that time to get from where I am to where I'm going, to prepare for what's coming up. And I said, well, sort of try to fool your mind and say like, look, that my back porch for now is my office, and try to create that. I'm walking in the door. At the end of the day, I'm walking out the door, even though I could, like you could walk through the back, the door behind you. And I think that that's, always what we're searching for, is this certainty that's not, ever going to be there, because even in that, it might not work. Your mind might understand what you're doing. It's not the same. You're still focused. So I think that being more okay with the fact that we don't have certainty, and that there is not, while we have a plan, because I'm sure some people sat down and made very detailed goals for what they're going to do in 21, sorry. And even still today, like you got a new routine, you got a new plan. Is that going to work? Is it going to be what I need to get me to where I want to go? Because it's untried, it's untested, and it's all a new plan to help me get to where I think I want to go.
We do have some things that we are certain of, though, Tom, in business. If I sit at my desk and don't engage and wait for people to call me to do what I do for a living, I can pretty much be certain that I will be not getting the phone to ring today, and nothing will happen. So I need to make some effort to attract people to my business. I need to do the work. And I say that because I've dealt with a couple of people over the years where they're like, yeah, I really struggle to do the work. It's like, well, if you've got a contract, you ought to do the work. So we need to be certain that, yes, one, we can do the work. Two, we'll find time to do the work. So those two certainties do exist. I know if I make a certain number of calls this afternoon, I'll probably get closer to more work. And maybe the first call, the person goes, oh my God, Bob, how have you been? It's so great to talk to you. I can't believe it. What's it been, a year? Yeah, it's been a year because I went through my book yesterday and found all the people I haven't talked to in a year, and I'm going to reach out to them. That's the certainty I have today. I have a process that I can follow, and I think we have more certainty than we let on. What we want is absolute certainty that if I make 22 calls today, I'm going to make $25,000 this month, and all my debt will be gone and all my bills are paid and the world will be perfect. I don't think it works that way. Even the entrepreneurs that I know that are really making a lot of money, they're not sitting there going, oh, I'm going to make this much money. They're worried about what could happen. There's always the possibility. I see we have some comments. I think I might be well, let's start with this one. This one's kind of funny. Tim says, if you face a sinkhole heading to your back porch, you're in serious trouble.
Fair. Very fair.
Tim also said earlier, I'm certain we'll face uncertainty. Can't beat that. And I love when one of us gets quoted, if you have a contract, you ought to do the work. That's good. I can't believe some of the things I say. And then Peter says, maybe you've done the work, plan to seed, water the garden, and then you let nature do its thing. I like that idea. And I think that's where a lot of times we fall down, is that we don't water the garden. We don't plant the seed. In the example that what Peter's describing, I had contact with people last year and I didn't follow up to the level I could have or should have in my mind. So I planted the seed, but I didn't water the garden. And if the water doesn't go in the garden, odds are it's not going to grow. It might get some rain, but probably not to the level that you need.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that sometimes we do all that work and nature decides not to do its course. Have you ever planted a garden and have nothing come up or not what you expected? And so I think that there's always that. We can do everything in our power to try to make it happen. We don't have complete control over the situation. And I think that what ultimately we can control all the things we can control. And then at some point we have to let go of control. And I think, as Peter says, we have to let nature take its course, or we have to accept that nature is going to take its course and we no longer can control all the variables of all the things that could go wrong, and that is okay. It's okay that we do all the work. Even if you did all the follow-up with all those people, you're doing the right things that you believe are going to help you be more, and you may still end up with nothing from that.
Right.
Possibility, at least nothing at whatever time you decide to measure that. Right. Because you could measure that. Okay, in this month, I'm going to reach back out to all these people. Okay, well, maybe in this month, nothing came through. Doesn't mean, and so you measure that and be like, was that work effective? It's hard to, as of right now, the answer might be no. It's impossible. It's uncertain to know what it's going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a year and a half. Some point, some of those things may actually come through when that person is certain that they were like, hey, you know what? I remember talking about, I really could use what he is offering. And then it's sort of, but that's all out of your hands at that point. And right. So I think that's a thing for us to remember, is that sometimes nature doesn't take its course, or their course is not the results we expected.
Right. I think of the doctor who does surgery and does everything right, and the patient still dies. He did the best he did the best he could. I want to post Steve's comment, and I think it may have been superseded. How do you make plans so I'm fairly sure that if I literally plant seeds and water them, I will get some tomatoes later in the year? But how do you figure out plants for things where you're less familiar or uncomfortable with the process? I think that's the challenge that we have. And I think the magic word to me in this is process. If I do the things consistently, if I plant the seeds consistently, some will take. Some will get enough sunlight to or I will learn enough that I can shift my garden. I can plant it later. I can move things to a different field. I can add fertilizer. I can do all kinds of things that I can't do if I'm just sitting in my office waiting for the phone to ring. And I think this is one of the myths that we have in business that we have to all overcome, is that, build it and they will come. It's more like build it and tell everyone about it, and then maybe they'll come.
Right. And if they don't, what am I going to do differently?
Correct.
How do I need to pivot and shift it, and what needs to happen? And, I think that's the challenge in all of this, right? Is that we can move along. It's great to have a process. The benefit of the process is you can evaluate it, and you can say, again, what are the results at this moment? Because you could look back and say, okay, we've been doing this show for however long. What are the results today? And we can make some decision about, based on that, okay, what do we do next? And then we have to just decide, are we going to keep moving forward? Are we going to tweak something, do something a little bit different? How is it going to then manifest into what we do long term? And I think keeping the process and modifying pieces allows us to continue to measure. Once you stop the process, at a certain point, your results are probably not going to change. They might. Someone may come back and remember you from years ago, but if you're not out and about and they know who you are, they're going to move on to whatever is next. And so by maintaining the process, it allows us to continue to measure our results rather than be like, okay, I'm stopping and I'm going to start something brand new, which means I have to wait X amount of time to get results to move forward. And, I think that's why a lot of people use the phrase trust the process. And I think you trust that you made this process based on some sense of you created your morning schedule based on what you thought was going to be best for you. You said last year's schedule was good. I don't think it helped me get to, some little piece of where I want to be. So I'm going to make a little tweak. But you can't today necessarily measure what are the results of those tweaks. And
Right.
if you tomorrow you're like, well, you know what, that didn't work, I'm going to start all over again. That
Right.
It's going to be really hard for you to ever measure and be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
One of the things Tom, wow, I don't know where Tom went. Anyway, Tom's gone, so it's me. One of the things that really brings me comfort this morning while I wait for Tom to come back is that I found in talking to Tom this morning before our program that he was uncertain today. And I think that's something we all have to think about. We're not the only person who feels uncertain in the moment. It could be, and I think probably is, everyone's got a certain level of uncertainty this morning. And I think that makes me feel a little more at ease, thinking that everyone's been thinking, we had this change of years and everything's supposed to be different, it's supposed to be magical. We're supposed to have this beautiful plan. It's the first work day after a long weekend, all that good stuff. I don't think that really works out. I don't think that's real. I don't think that's honest. I don't think that's what we're expecting in reality. I think the certainty that we're looking for is that we're going to get the results if we do the work. And I think the first thing in that equation is you've got to do the work. If you don't do the work, you're never going to get the results. And I think thinking about what that work is in terms of finding new clients, finding customers, getting more in tune with your employees if that's the issue, whatever it is, figuring out new products and services. There are a whole bunch of things we can do. And I think often what we do on the first day of the year or the first time we start into something is we want to fix everything. And I think that's probably what causes greater uncertainty. I think the more we can just focus on one or two things, not everything. Hey, Tom, welcome back.
That was the weirdest, just like the whole thing just disappeared. Like, wait.
I was just telling people that as one of the things I took comfort in when we spoke before the program is you had uncertainty today just like me. And my guess is if you and I both feel it, everyone feels it. And that alone, to me, that's the thing today. The one thing for me today is we all feel uncertain today. And here's the secret. We probably are all going to feel uncertain tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. And the minute you feel certain, you're probably not trying hard enough. Because with anything, whenever you're creating something, there's uncertainty. If I'm making a wood shelf, what piece of wood should I use? How should I saw it? What fasteners should I use? Should I glue it before I fasten it? There are a whole bunch of things. Should I stain it before I do the other stuff? There's a million decisions that we make when we make anything. And they all affect and influence the final result. And I think for us, it's accepting that we're going to make decisions that are good and that we're going to make decisions that don't lead to the results we want. And that's okay. What are your thoughts on that, Tom? Do you have a one thing today for people?
Yeah, I think mine is that I think it's okay to be uncertain. And as long as uncertainty doesn't stop you from taking action, and I think that's the that's the challenge, because we don't know the results of anything we do. And I think I think there's something challenging about certainty, is that when you're 100% certain, usually an obstacle is about to smack you in the face. We were talking about football before, and I think that everyone last year, if they're a football fan at all, would have said the Ravens are going to walk into the Super Bowl. No worries. The Titans were not a challenge. And unfortunately, they got smacked in the face. And I think that's what happens, is when we become certain of things, we're more focused, and we miss some of the things on the out that are going to step up and bite us in a big way. And when you get those results, they're going to be that much more, I think, restricting and limiting and impactful than if you are always going through with a little bit of uncertainty. Like, okay, this might be awesome. It might not work as I planned. It might go miserably not as well as I planned.
Miserably not as well as I planned. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't want to use the F word, and I didn't want to all those things. And I think what happens is that's okay. Now we at least can make a decision on what do we do to move forward differently, and not be as impacted as the certainty. If we were doing a project and we said, yeah, absolutely, there's going to be 100 people who are going to show up to participate in this event, and we get 1, 2, 0, that's going to smack me more in the face than I'm like, you know what, this is something that we're going to try, and we're going to see what happens. And we believe it's the right thing, and that still might not yield the results that we're expecting. It's when we say, oh yeah, this is going to be easy, is about the time that we most likely are going to be awoken to the fact that life isn't always easy or certain.
One of the things we've done with the new year, Tom, is we're asking our participants, people watching or listening to the program, to put their one thing down in the chat box for us so we can see what they take, what they discover from our discussion, so that we can all learn from each other. This is a great opportunity to share whatever insight, whether it's related to what we're talking about or you just had some epiphany. Feel free to put it in the comments. It's something that we're really hoping will build the community, draw more insight from everyone, because Tom and I say things and we have one perspective, but your perspective might be different, and that's perfectly fine. We'd love to see what you have to say. So if you want to do that, put that in the comments. And then, Tom, it's time. You should tell them about the big workshop series we're doing later this month. Are you ready to talk about it?
Sure. Why not? In 2 weeks, we are going to do a Charting Your Destination workshop to help you.
Series. 4 days.
Workshop series, right. It's 4 days. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It will be from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll have more information about it and a chance for you to sort of pre-register. Will be coming up shortly. And I think it's really just going to help you. It's not going to help you find certainty. It might help you with the process that will help you move forward and continue to better understand who your clients are, how to speak to them, and where you can find them. And we think that that's going to really help people start to build their processes, build what they're doing, and take their business to whatever the destination is they're achieving, whether that's a destination for the next month, the next quarter, the next year. It's up to you to determine where are you trying to go.
There are a couple of things about this workshop, Tom, that I want to add. One is, if you can't make one of the days, it's okay, because we'll have a replay available in the early afternoon so you can catch up. 2, there's a little bit of homework each day, but it's going to help you figure things out. This is the workshop that Tom and I wish we had a couple of years ago, frankly. And we built it with that in mind. And this is not going to be a talk to you for an hour and a half workshop. This is going to be get your hands dirty, really think through things, write things down, process things, moving towards a solution. This is going to be one of those things where you're going to be like, oh, wow, that was a lot of thinking and a lot of doing. We don't like the talk at you. We like the work with you. And we'll also give you opportunities within those days to network with other members of our organization, our group, because we think that's as important as anything else. So, Tom, that starts on, I believe it's January 18th, Monday, January 18th, goes
That's
Monday or Tuesday, January 19th, Wednesday, January 20th, and concludes on Thursday, January 21st. Again, it's from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And we will be putting a link down below for people to enroll in it.
Yes. Yep, there'll be more information about that. So if you are not a member of the Ring of Renegades, you want to make sure that you join our Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Ring of Renegades, where more information will be available. It'll be available other places as well, but you'll hear more about it and get a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish and what we're hoping you will accomplish in those 4 days. So join us in the Ring of Renegades. If not, we will be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, to continue our conversation about uncertainty. We hope that you go out, have a great first day, and be okay with a little bit of uncertainty in where you're at. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Take care.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.